Hello, my dear students of Class 7, both Bangla version and English version. Welcome to our online session. I hope that all of you are well and fine and everything is going well. You know that yesterday I have taken a revision class, and yesterday we revised Unit 3. So, in our syllabus, we have Unit 1, 3 and 6 from our English for Today book, as we revised some lessons from Unit 3 yesterday. So today we will revise some important lessons from Unit 6. So before starting our today's class, at first we will focus on our today's lesson plan. It is very much easy. Unit 6, today we will read or revise lesson 8, 9, 10, 11. We have already finished it and you know it very well. That's what is going to be discussed today. Before starting our today's class, at first I want to give you a suggestion that when you will read the unit or lessons from this unit, you have to very much conscious about word meaning, that parts of speech, synonym, antonym, and some important information. You should not do this. You will just go through the lessons, you will just reading the lesson. If you do this, you will not be successful to get good marks. So when you will read any lessons, or now I will read some lessons, so you have to be very much careful that actually what is going to be discussed in the lesson, and what is the important information, and you have to identify the parts of speech, some important words from the lessons. It is very much important. You know that from 30 May, that means from next Sunday, your first term examination is going to start. So if you want to get good marks, you have to follow some strategy. Now in today's class I will tell you some strategy to do that. So I hope that you will follow this. Okay, let's start our today's class. The Selfish Giant, Part 1, Lesson 8 from Unit 6. Shima's grandfather was telling the story of the selfish giant in the family gathering. So, who was telling the story of the selfish giant in the family gathering? The answer will be Shima's grandfather. So, it is a very beginning line of the lesson. You will when you will just go through this line, but if you do not capture the information that Shima's grandfather was telling the story of the selfish giant in the family gathering, you have read, but you do not capture, or you haven't captured the information, or you haven't noticed the information. But if this question comes into your exam hall, then you will get confused that, oh, what is the answer? Shima's grandfather, Shima's grandmother, or Shima's father, mother, uncle, auntie. You will not know. But you read this, but you do not capture. So be careful about that. Grandma refused to go to bed. So who refused to go to bed? Grandma. She forgot her back pain. So who had back pain? This question may come. So grandma forgot her back pain. So the story is The Selfish Giant. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. With what? With soft green grass. It was a large, lovely garden. Large as adjective. Large, lovely garden. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers. Also there were fruit trees around the garden. Around, preposition, around the garden. বাগানের চারিপাশে. One day the giant came back. He went to see his friend in a distant land. Distant, a synonym. Far off. F-A-R, O-double-F, far off. And I have already given you some synonym, antonym, parts of speech when I took this class. So if you follow those classes, you will get very clear information about that. One day the giant came back. He went to see his friend in a distant land and stayed with them for 7 years. So how many years? 7 years. When he arrived, he saw children playing in his garden. "What are you doing here?" cried the giant in a very gruff voice. Which kind of voice? Gruff voice, or the कर्कश, harsh. H-A-R-S-H, harsh. The children ran away. Every afternoon the children came back from school and used to go and play in the giant's garden. "My own garden is my own garden," said the giant. "Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody else to play in it." So he built a high wall all around the garden and put up a notice: "Trespassers will be punished." Next, part 2, the selfish giant. The children had now nowhere to play. There were no gardens around. The roads were busy and crowded. After school, they used to go round the high wall and talk about the beautiful garden inside. "How happy we were there," they said to each other. Then came the spring, and all over the country there were flowers and there were birds. Only in the garden of the giant it was still winter. Here no birds were singing and no flowers blossoming. There were only snow and frost and north wind in it. Which wind? North wind. "I can't understand why the spring is so late in coming," said the giant. He was sitting at the window of his big castle. Castle Durgo, এটার synonym হতে পারে fortress, Fortess, fortress, and looking out at his cold, dry, lifeless garden. I hope there will be change in the weather. So who hopes there will be change in the weather? The giant hope. There hopes that there will be change in the weather, but neither spring nor summer came to his garden. Lesson 10, Part 3, The Selfish Giant. One morning the giant was lying out in bed when he heard some lovely music. It was so sweet to his ears that he thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. But in fact it was only a little bird singing outside his window. What was it? It was only little bird singing outside his window. And then the north wind stopped and a delicious perfume came to his delicious perfume, or the sugandha, or the sweet and delicious perfume came to him through the open window, through its preposition THRUG, through the open window. "I believe the spring has come at last," said the giant. He jumped out of bed and looked out. সে বিছানা থেকে লাফিয়ে উঠল এবং বাইরে তাকালো। What did he see? সে কি দেখলো? He saw the most wonderful sight. Through a little hole in the wall the children crept in and they were sitting in the branches of the tree. In every tree there was a little child. It's a very important line. In everything there was a what? Naughty monkey, lovely rose, what? A little child. And trees were so delighted to have the children back again, and that they covered themselves with blossoms. They were waving their arms gently above the children's heads. The birds were flying above, twittering delightfully. Kichir-michir kora, twittering delightfully. And the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. But only in one corner of the garden it was still winter. There under a little tree, under preposition, there under a tree, a little boy was standing alone, crying. And he was so small that he couldn't reach up to the branches of the tree. The poor tree was still covered with snow, and the north wind was blowing above it. Lesson 11, The Selfish Giant, Part 4. The giant felt sorry as he looked out. "How selfish I have been," he said to himself. আমি কতটা স্বার্থপর ছিলাম, সে নিজে নিজে এই কথাটা বলল। Now I know why the spring would not come here. So he quickly went out into the garden, but when the children saw him, they were so frightened that they all ran away, and the garden became winter again. Only the little boy did not run, for his eyes were so full of tears that he didn't see the giant coming. The giant quietly came behind him, so quietly, so synonym silently, came behind him, took him gently in his hands, and put him up into the tree. And the tree at once broke into blossoms, and the birds came and sang on it. The little boy stretched out his two arms, flung them round the giant's neck, and kissed him. The other children saw this. They saw that the giant was not wicked any longer. সে আর দুষ্ট নাই, সে ভালো হয়ে গেছে. So they came running back, and with them came the spring. "See your garden now, little children," said the giant. Then he took a huge axe and knocked the wall down. And the people passing by found the giant playing with the children in the most beautiful garden in the country. So that is the story of the selfish giant. You know it very well. So you have to find out the synonym. You have to memorize the antonym of the keywords which are given into the every lesson. That means in lesson 11, the selfish giant part 4, the keywords are frightened, stretch out, knock down. So you have to know the meaning. And lesson 10, the keywords perfume, sight, Twitter. Lesson 9, keywords castle. Lesson 8, keywords selfish, giant, graph, trespasser. So that's all, and very much thank you to all of you for listening my lecture, and at last I will suggest you to take a very good preparation for your first term examination, and don't neglect any subject. I will not suggest you that just to go study hard only English. I will not say that. You have to study hard for all subjects, Bangla, math, even religion. You have to give same importance on all subjects, and you have to make a very good result. But you have to study hard. So if you have any questions regarding this topic, this story, or any lesson, or any kind of unit, or any kind of questions, you have any kind of question, problem, or confusions, feel free to ask me or make comment. I will try to help you. So no more today. A lot of thanks to you for listening my lecture. Best of luck. Thank you.